Hello, everyone. This is Nicole from Soulflwr, coming to you with our Soulgarden podcast. This is episode 20, and this is one of my favorite subjects. It's a bit of a challenge for all of us, but I look forward to the conversation that I want to have with you today about it. Um, how this subject has really impacted me in my life, what and those lessons that I've gained from it. I think this is one of the most important podcasts that I've did to date, and all of them have had a wealth of information in them that you can utilize at any point in your life. So please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. It means a lot to us. Let us know that this information is useful to you and has impacted you in a way that you feel that it is relevant to the times. So, thank you in advance. Um, I feel like I'm recording these a little bit early than when they will really be exposed to the true, well, not true. That's that's inappropriate, but it will be exposed to a wider audience. But I want to thank those of you that are the first because you're the trailblazers, you're the seeds. So thank you, and may light, love, and light be with you always. All right. With that being said, let's get into our disclaimers. This is not a formal podcast. So if you're looking for someone that is here to entertain, these are for entertainment purposes. However, it's not the typical formal structure of a podcast. I don't think. You know, I'm literally just doing some presentation and talking to you about some concepts that have been really impactful, not only just in my life, but in the lives of the people that are around me. So, and people that have been in my past as well, that are now in my past as well, has impacted them greatly. So, it's an honor to present these things to you. I'm just blending some skills here, but I'm rambling. Today, this one will be a little bit lengthy. I'm already starting out. starting out talking a lot, but I am excited about the subject. This is for adults only, no kids under the age of 18. So parents, we just did our part. We let you know we're not on the bandwagon with the kids out here getting good information. Now, mind you, I put some respect on their name for one now. One to look at something like this right now. Because even though the information is being widely exposed to everyone, it's still not out there yet. So, I put some respect on the name, but kids, we can't get with you. You gotta do. That's none of our business. We just let you know. It's for adults only. 18 and under, you gotta wait. They'll still be here. This is times. It's times. Um, we don't reach out for services unless it's Facebook posts, TikTok posts, Instagram posts, or YouTube posts. Those are our platforms. We don't message you for anything. Don't get scammed. If you email us, I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me say this. We got some music in the background here. We don't own the rights to this. This is from meditation. No, it's 1111 meditation. So YouTube group Binary Beats. Check them out. Binary Beats are the cheat code. Get with them. Do your research about them. Um, oh yeah, there is something that we're doing that is going to be something that we're going to move forward with. We're going to start out. I remember we told you that we were going to be doing some new things this year. And one of those new things is if you email us a subject that you're interested in as far as to be, debuted on the podcast here, by all means, email us at Soulflwr. It's spelled just like you see on the screen. Soulflwr, then the letter INC at gmail.com. You email us that idea, and if we pick it, we'll send you a free gift on us. So, yeah, that's something to consider. But it also include your well, we'll get into it. If we pick you, we'll email you and ask you what your email, what your address is and stuff like that, so you can get your free gift. But yeah, that's what we're doing. We're gonna do that moving forward. I'm gonna promote that every podcast. If you send us an idea, we're gonna consider it. But that's all for our disclaimers. Let's get into our subject for today. This subject is timeless. Like the color black. It's timeless. It's gonna go with anything. Anything you rock, this subject right here can rock with it. Last episode we talked about inner mastery. Yeah, I think episode 19 was about inner mastery. And in that episode we talked about some pitfalls that are you know they're straight up going in the other direction of inner mastery. Uh, and one of those pitfalls, we're gonna talk about some of those things. I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna do that. I made a decision to do that. We're gonna talk about some of those pitfalls, and this one that we're gonna talk about today, it is one of the most poisonous things to inner mastery. Um, yeah, I did say y'all like, share, and subscribe. Yeah, thank you for that. So we're gonna move on and let's get into our discussion. And this pitfall is called self-betrayal. This shit right here is this is most definitely the biggest pitfall to self-mastery. I use self-mastery and inner mastery interchangeably. The self is composed of the mind, body, and the spirit. So, you know, self is a part of that. It's really, our experience is predominantly internal. Uh, Only our external communications, and well, I'll withdraw that. I need to think them more through. I'll do that from time to time. Uh, nothing is really etched in stone, and I don't know everything. So if my thoughts they don't they don't I don't feel like I can comprehend it. Um, I don't if I don't believe that I can comprehend it thoroughly enough to teach it, then I would draw it. So um, obviously this is something that I am currently healing from. So um, it'll be a challenge for me to teach this one. But I'm excited about it because it's one of my favorite subjects. It's one of my favorite subjects because the more that you uncover about self betrayal, really, it for me personally, it in my experience, it has really accelerated my healing experience. Um, there is a inner work tool. I think it might be mirror work. Yeah, it's mirror work. And a lot of times when you're dealing with mirror work, and we talked about mirror work before, mirror work is all about getting to that zero point, which the zero point is the root, the origin, the beginning. Everything when it comes to personal development uh, and healing, it has a beginning. So a lot of times we seek out those beginnings, and with mirror work, a lot of, a lot of times the mirror work will uncover the root. And once you uncover the root, it's kind of like a plant. Once you pull it up by the root, then the whole thing kind of falls apart. So self betrayal, I think it's a root. I think that's what I am working up the conversation. I'm working into the conversation here. Is that it's a root, and is well, it's close to the root. No, it is a root. That's a root. Let's just stay with that. It's a root, and then we'll expound on it later. Um, I guess this is one of those podcasts where I'm going to work it out within myself a little bit too. Hmm, this should be interesting. All right, so let's talk about what is self betrayal. Self betrayal is well. This is not my definition. This is the definition I got it from. I actually got it from Canva, which was where I do my presentations. Uh, but self betrayal is a complex and often painful experience when an individual acts contrary to their own beliefs, values, and or needs, leading to feelings of guilt, shame, and inner conflict. This phenomenon can manifest in various ways, such as staying in a toxic relationship, compromising one's integrity for short-term gains, neglecting personal well-being to meet and neglecting personal well-being to meet external expectations. Okay, I'm reading it just to make sure I got it right and turn it up. The root of self betrayal often lies in the fear of rejection, low self-esteem, and a desire to conform to societal norms. So it's a root, but it's kind of surrounded by other roots like uh, fear, rejection, low self-esteem. They're like attached to one another. It's like the fear, rejection. I don't know. It's like the fertilizer to this joint. Let's see. As far as what I would put it in layman terms, I wrote down my own definition of this. And for me, this is in my experience, how I've experienced self betrayal. It's a moment of lack of integrity for the sake of external validation or value at the cost of my own personal value system. For example, I did things I said I would never do. So that's a form of self betrayal. I told little white lies so that I could look better in front of other people. That is a form of self betrayal. Let's look at some more examples. Having sex with somebody because you're lonely. That's an example of self betrayal. Doing things within a group or community that you don't want to do just to fit in. And this is a big one because we act like only teenagers do this, but we're whole adults and we do this. And it's time for this to be acknowledged instead of inferred. Um, that's a form of self betrayal. Now, it is a it may be something that is predominantly something that teenagers do, but it is something that is prevalent due to lack of personal development. Uh, a lot of times due to lack of resources and lack of awareness. It's prevalent in adult lives today. Let's see. This is one I did. Being quiet when I disagree with something. That's what I call keeping the peace instead of making the peace. I learned that from a mentor I had in the past. Thinking about somebody else's problems above my own. I've done that. That's a form of codependency, which is a big example of self betrayal. Being someone or something that we're not on the inside. That's a form of self betrayal. Not trusting our gut or intuition. That's a big one. That's most definitely a form of self betrayal. This this is some dangerous shit, y'all. And I think this is one of the biggest uh, challenges for other sheep is self betrayal. To be at odds with your own authenticity. It's a suffering that in the past I couldn't bear. Uh, it almost it almost took my life. You can literally feel your life force leaving you. Well, if you're sensitive enough, when you self betray. There is there when I was doing a lot of studying about what was I studying at the time? I think it was about I did a lot of study in the past about the need for approval and validation and stuff like that because I grew up in environments where it wasn't very validating. I'm Gen X, so the generations before us, they had challenges that were different. And typically, what is done, a generational pattern, um, especially in the culture that I come from, in the African American community is that we tend to pass on. Well, we tend to try to resolve the issues that we had with our parents, and that creates other problems that we don't realize that end up perpetuating it, whatever the generational pattern is that was passed on. So, um, I'm losing my train of thought, but this is uh this is something definitely that's an enemy to, I would say, the enemy to uh, our authenticity. You absolutely cannot self betray. It's that this is the absolute. Uh, if you do, it must be rectified at all costs. Well, not at all costs, but it must be rectified, because if you don't have yourself, you don't have anything. A divided house cannot stand. That is true. Say what we want to say about scripture in that concept, but there's a lot of wisdom in a lot. Even though we discovered that a lot of stuff has been tampered with as far as the scriptures and stuff like that. Um, and if you didn't know that, look it up. There's a journey that you got to take on your own. And you have the right to choose. You have the right to believe it or not. But you know, I we tend to deal with the facts, and if we can back it up with evidence, we will. You know, at any rate, this is something that we absolutely cannot do to ourselves. This is self-hated is at its worst, and I think we don't even realize it because it it's like, I think it's like taking ibuprofen for chronic illness. Um, I don't know. I don't want to say cancer, but to go to the extreme, but I guess it would be. It is a valid explanation. I mean, example, even though it's exaggerated. Self betrayal is the worst thing you can do to yourself. It's a violent act to the self. So it really creates so many problems. So many problems. And these days, life is littered with opportunities to self betray, especially now. Well, it's not especially now. It's just in another way. There's nothing new really under the sun. Now it's just we have it in the form of the digital world, the information world. But it's all one big cycle. The energy is just transforming itself into something else. And depending on what our intentions are, that's how it's going to flow. But energy can't really flow if we're self betraying. You know, just like having a blockage in your heart. So let's get into the symptoms of self betrayal. A big one is cognitive dissonance. And that's a process that happens over time. There's a conditioning that occurs over time, based upon the foundation that was provided for you. if you really sit and think about it, um, in our families, we really aren't really given a choice to. I don't know what families are doing now, but I know when I was coming up, really wasn't given a choice to study outside of what we were studying. Uh, the only reason why I ended up studying outside of Christianity is because I went to college and I ended up getting exposed to the information. Otherwise, and I still remained in a form of cognitive dissonance because I stayed a Christian for years after I graduated from college. I think I still was a Christian when I graduated from when I got my master's degree. No, I wasn't. Half of it though I was. So another symptom, though let's get into that, was low self worth, avoiding accountability. That's a big one. An example of that would be lying, saying you didn't do something and you did, or saying that you don't, you didn't mean what you said but you did. You know, shit like that. Those little things. As Christian scripture says, it's the little foxes that spoil the vines. It's the little shit. And that shit just keep adding up. And we think it's okay because it feels little in the moment, but after a while, you know, it begins to take its toll. Because you're making a choice to self-betray. Even if it's little, it's still a self-betrayal. It's still a lie. And I don't deal in absolutes. Uh, I deal in foundations and building from there. And if we don't see things from what they are, we can't change them. So uh, we start out on the foundation of a truth and we build from there. We can have compassion on ourselves within that truth, but we have to tell the truth. You know, that's the antidote to these symptoms. And then it'll start working immediately. And it will extend out, just like the example I had earlier with the mirror work will uh, it'll pull it out from the root. So seeing things as they are is most definitely the antidote to self betrayal. I'm giving it to you early, but they need to be seen because you're gonna resonate with these symptoms on some level in your life. Lack of integrity, and by level I mean in some tense, past, present, here, and potentially future. Lack of shadow awareness. Again, that shit that you keep pushing aside in one way or another, it is not going away. That is a big form of self betrayal. Is to think that those things are being resolved because you are suppressing them, repressing them, denying them, dismissing them, avoiding them. They do not go away. They continue to grow on the inside of you. And again, a divided house cannot stand. If you are resisting what is occurring, what you're experiencing, then That is a form that can turn into a form of self betrayal if you don't eventually face it and work through it. Low self worth, that's a big one. Because self betrayal hangs with shame and guilt and victim consciousness. Pride, that is a huge one. Pride is a big block to shadow awareness. Need for external validation over internal validation. So, another way of saying this is caring what other people think. Codependent behavior is huge. Codependent personality. That's huge because codependent people do stuff every day that they don't want to do. I know because I used to ascribe to the codependent game. Every day I did stuff I didn't want to do. Every day, and it was killing me. It was fucking killing me, so I had to do something different. I had to live another way. And I found that way. And it works for me. I can and I'm extending this service to you now by talking to you about how important it has been in my experience to really deal with these aspects of ourselves because in all honesty, we all can resonate with this. The cognitive dissonance, uh, using people, using people for what you use what you know about people to manipulate situations and take advantage of people. I mentioned need for external validation over internal, lack of shadow awareness, humiliation, injustice, codependent behaviors, victim consciousness. I mentioned a history of trauma. That's a huge one. That's a huge one. That's a root. These things they intertwine with self betrayal. Thinking we are supposed to belong somewhere that we don't. That's huge. That's huge, especially in this day and age. Uh, we have this pseudo authenticity now. We don't really let people be who they are. Otherwise, uh, things wouldn't be so chaotic. People wouldn't be so suppressed. Did I say avoid accountability? I think I've mentioned all of them now. I did. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the one thinking we're supposed to belong somewhere and we don't. For me personally, in my path, I said self betrayed with, uh, even though, and I'm gonna say this, I honor this experience. I honor this experience. Uh, and I don't take it for granted at all. It was a beautiful experience, and I'll always cherish it. At the same time, I was self betraying within the experiences that I had when I was younger. When I first started on my path as a Christian, and even as being trained as a Christian, a Christian minister, I knew that it wasn't for me. I knew that I would be doing something outside of the traditional way of Christianity. And shit, here it is. So I made it. But yeah, I really did try to fit in with the church. I really did. I was very active in the church. Um, the person I am now and the person that I was then are night and day. Because it's just as dedicated as I am to my path now, I was to the Christian path. And aspects of Christianity I still have that devotion to. It's just that I ascribe to identify with having a personal inner experience uh, with God through Christ consciousness, opposed to identifying with a group. And although that's okay. That's very much needed. It's just that I feel like for me, uh, even though I can most certainly go to church and participate in church and all of the things, because I believe in oneness. It's all one. So uh, I know that my path, I walk a different path. I know I'm just here to help, to assist with groups. I don't think I think that my experiences with groups was to teach about group dynamics. And one of the group dynamics that is huge in groups is self betrayal. And all of them symptoms that we talked about earlier are in it. But let's talk about the cycles of self betrayal as well, because it's terrible, y'all. Did I even get through what I was telling y'all about? Well, I'll just tie it into this cycle because it works. So self betrayal leads to toxic nostalgia. So toxic nostalgia are like, for instance, those little white lies. It's like those little moments where we don't tell ourselves the truth. And those little moments that we don't tell ourselves the truth, that shit adds up. And if we don't deal with that shit, it's gonna pop up and start sabotaging other shit in our life, even the shit that was going smooth. And if we still don't deal with that shit, that's when we start walking into um, more complex things like addictions and personality, mental sicknesses and disorders, mental illness is what I meant. Forgive me. Um, Mental illnesses and other different forms of illnesses, psychosomatic illnesses, um, all kind of shit start popping up, and if it really started really long, then we start going into um, self sabotage, which is well, we've already did self sabotage earlier. We're going into self destruction, which is a complete obliteration of the things that you value in your life, and it could potentially change the trajectory of our lives. So we have to be careful. It's okay to be an adult, but we gotta learn how to be grown. And if you really, really work through your issues with self betrayal, it really grow you up. It grow you up fast. You be ground. because it takes some real iron will to overcome this shit. I'm not even gonna hold you. 'Cause it's so easy to self betray. And we don't call it self betrayal, we call it little white lies and stuff to make us feel better about what we're doing. uh, Again, my intention is not to preach at you or even convey this as a absolute concept. What I am saying is that with compassion, we can tell ourselves the truth. That's the only antidote that I've seen for self betrayal. Oh well, and the other things we'll talk about here in a second, which is um, overcoming self betrayal. And it takes some strength. And you're going to go through a lot of changes, but it can happen. I'm a living witness. Let's talk about some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about some stuff that in my experience, I've seen as and practiced in my own life as overcoming self betrayal. Number one, I embrace the truth and the awareness that everyone is responsible for their own path. That deserves a pause on its own. Because if we do that, that's another way of saying mind your business. If you mind your business, that's winning half the game right there. Cultivating self-awareness. We do this through self-discovery. We've been talking about self-discovery. Finding out about what we're about. Going on it, making the choice to go on that journey to find out who we are. And it's an interesting thing. It's definitely not what I thought it was gonna be. Um, Speak your truth. Tell the truth. You know that saying, tell the truth, shame the devil. The devil is self-betrayal. The devil is self-betrayal. Well, at least you can see it that way. Setting clear boundaries. Practicing integrity with balance. Like, say what you mean what you say. Do that with balance. With the intention to communicate, convey compassion, and loving speech. Not to express pride or any, which pride is believing you better than somebody else. Yeah. I lost my train. I lost my place. Accept correction. You accept correction. Constructive criticism is correction. Um, Allow the chips to fall where they may, especially in situations where it's uncomfortable for you to speak your truth. That's when you really practice integrity. Um, Embrace your own authenticity. That's going to take self-discovery, self-compassion, and empathy. Um, that's what has helped me. all of those things, you'll find that we'll talk about a lot of the same principles over and over, like compassion and mindfulness, because these things really work for clearing out these roots. This it break out of this root shit right here, which is self betrayal. We are conditioned to be one way, and so we have built up this whole modified self that is this whole person that we're not. And it's time to be like Future and Drake said a few years ago. Mask off. It's time to take the mask off. So if you need help with this, by any means, by all means, contact us. Soulflwr@gmail.com. I'll do my best to put it in the description box below, but I've been slick lying to y'all because I've been forgetting. So there's that on that. Hopefully you can write it down, and I'll do my best to remember to put it in the presentations as well. But overcoming self-betrayal is a beast, and I'm not even gonna hold you. You will need help eventually because this shit is a challenge, especially when you've been doing some shit for years, and then you gotta stop it, and other people been benefiting from that shit. Man, it's something else. So I don't know. I'm thinking about expanding more on this subject because it's really underrated. It's really underrated. It's like the skill inference. Um, Something we need direly, but we don't acknowledge. We don't practice. And this shit right here, we need to be aware of. I think that we've become complacent with this in a lot of ways. But it's so easy to get attention through entertainment now, especially in the digital world. It's a challenge for people to sit by themselves and embrace their own company. Uh, I think that technology is great. At the same time, I also think getting out in nature and being a part of that, being a part of the organic system as well that we have in our lives. You know, the organic cycles and systems that we have in our lives. We need to connect to that as well. All right, it's time for the self-mastery and energy report. I'm gonna try to do that real quick. Go ahead and shuffle the cards now. And again, we might get a card that we already got. Sometimes it be like that. Oh, we got one already. But sometimes it be like that. We're always learning and we're always cycling back to things that we've already learned. So that we can we can expand on that shit. Or remember. Either way, it's a win-win. This one is maintaining boundaries. Today, I will create a new awareness of those areas where I need healthier boundaries. I release my naive assumption that the other person is always right. I will exchange that view for trusting and listening to myself and setting boundaries and maintaining healthy setting and maintaining a healthy balance. See, this right here goes right along with what we talk about with self-betrayal. Not setting boundaries, clear boundaries, is a form of self-betrayal. It gives people the opportunity to take advantage of you and the opportunity for you to build resentment, which eventually will make you sick in more ways than one. All right, energy report. So the sun just went into Taurus, so we're in Taurus season. Mars is in Leo, and Mercury has went into Aries. So it's definitely time to move forward. We got a lot of pent up energy. Um, in the air. I don't, if you're sensitive to that, you'll be able to resonate with that. If not, good for you. I love that for you because in my streets, I feel a lot. Um, watch watch fraud and slips and your shadow popping out at this time because of Mercury being in Leo, Mars going in. Mercury being in Aries and Mars going in Leo. Um, I'm trying to. I'm scanning my notes, y'all, and also listening to my intuition. Turbulent times change is imminent, so we got a lot of chaos. We certainly know that for sure. Social media and the news is full of it. I also jotted down the unexpected thunderstorm coming this week, or that could be symbolic. You could have an unexpected crisis, so be aware. At this time, I know we've had recently we had a death in our family, so yeah, that is happening. I told you time to move forward. Even though it's chaotic, it's still a time of new beginnings. We did have I do remember we had a planet parade, like 4 planets, earlier last week. Might have been earlier last week, but it was sometime last week we had a planet parade. Everything went direct. Everything is direct right now, so it is a time to move forward. There's no retrogrades. Briefly. Um, so it says start a new adventure, go out, learn a new skill, take big and small risks. They said if you know how to handle it correctly, it's a good time to party. It is time to ground ourselves and be in the moment because of the chaos and the chaotic energy. A lot of that energy that we had around the eclipse is finally cycling out, I think. I haven't heard anything else about that. It's a little bit last week, but we didn't have a podcast last week, so yeah. But yes, it's time to ground ourselves in the moment. Um, when the energy reporters were talking about that, it reminded me, the way they were talking about it reminded me of a book I read a few years ago when I was with Light called Be Here Now by Ram Dass. That book was really pivotal for me because it kind of re-sparked my devotion to the divine. Um, I had been studying so much at that time that I kind of lost track of, my spiritual practice. One aspect of my spiritual practice, which is devotion. So, um, That was a really good book. It talked about being in the being in the present moment, and enjoying what's right. Enjoying what's in front of us. It's time for us to live that new life that we want to live and that we work for. So that's most certainly what I've been doing and will continue to do. Um, that's all the energy report. I do kind of feel like I was all over the place, but um, I'm gonna go ahead and post this shit anyway because you can benefit from it. It's still great material. Um, Thank you for listening. Uh, we do ask that you like, share, and subscribe this information so that we can get more exposure. We can help more people. And actually, it helps us to build more content as well. But yep, I'm going to go ahead and close out this episode. This is episode 20 of our Soulgarden podcast from Soulflwr out of Tennessee. Love, light, and unity to you. And may you always be in peace in that love, light, and unity. In divine oneness. Until we meet again, soul friends. Live free, but die well.